It's been a couple of weeks since the election, so it seems like a good time to check in on all those celebrities who said they'd flee the United States if Donald Trump defeated Kamala Harris. That's a list that includes Barbra Streisand, who said that she wouldn't be able to, quote, live in this country if he becomes president. She said she'd probably move to England. Then there was Cher, who vowed all the way back in 2016 that she'd leave the planet if Trump defeated Hillary Clinton. She apparently decided on reflection that she would simply start presenting as an alien instead of joining them among the stars. But last year, Cher was back with another threat, quote, I almost got an ulcer the last time. If he gets in, who knows? This time I'll leave the country, she said.
Welcome back to the Civic Agenda. In this video, Matt Walsh dives into the unfiltered hypocrisy of celebrities like Sharon Stone and Alec Baldwin as they lash out at Trump supporters while ironically embodying the arrogance they claim to condemn. We'll break down the video calling out the wild contradictions, the misplaced self-importance, and the outright fake facts thrown around to smear everyday Americans. Let's see if Walsh truly eviscerates these Hollywood elites or just fans the flames of controversy for clicks. Buckle up. This one's going to be sharp and unapologetic.
Not to be outdone, Sharon Stone echoed that same rhetoric. She said that if Trump won, she'd move overseas. Quote, I'm certainly considering a house in Italy, she said. Now, so far, as best I can tell, none of these celebrities have actually done what they said they were going to do. They haven't fled the U.S. in the wake of Kamala Harris's crushing defeat. The same is true for all the celebrities who claim that Donald Trump would ensure that America never holds a democratic election in the future. We can only conclude that they're either fine with fascism or they never meant anything they said. Though to be fair, it's also possible that all those celebrities I mentioned, at the top did leave the country. There's no way for us to know. It's been like 35 years since any of them have been remotely relevant anyway. But in any case, to her credit, Sharon Stone has at least been spending some time in Italy in the wake of the election. So that's something. And the other day, in fact, Sharon Stone spoke at the Torino Film Festival. After receiving some kind of award, she proceeded to explain the real reason that Kamala Harris lost to Trump. Now, according to Sharon Stone, Americans are ignorant and stupid. Unlike Sharon Stone, who, believe it or not, has a reported IQ of 154. That's an actual statistic that Sharon Stone apparently told CBS News at some point. And if CBS News is taking self-reported IQ data and putting it into news articles, then I would like to announce to CBS News that I have an IQ of 207, which is a claim that is at least as plausible as Sharon Stone's 154. So with that stratospheric self-professed IQ in mind, here is what Sharon Stone says when she's explaining what all you dumb people need to do in order to be more like Sharon Stone.
My country is in its adolescence. Adolescence is very arrogant. Adolescence thinks it knows everything. Adolescence is naive and ignorant and arrogant. And we are in our ignorant, arrogant adolescence.
Irony overload. Sharon Stone, who has no problem insulting millions of Americans as ignorant and arrogant, does so while flaunting her self-reported 154 IQ, a claim about as believable as her self-awareness. This reeks of a massive superiority complex. And her take, it's not groundbreaking, it's patronizing. Why? Because she reduces complex political disagreements into a smug narrative about intelligence. Who's really being naive here?
We haven't seen this before in our country. So Americans who don't travel, who 80% don't have a passport, who are uneducated, are in their extraordinary naivete. Now, we can't just say that women should help women because that's the only way we have survived so far. We must say that good men must help good men, and those good men must be very aware that a lot of your friends are not good men. And you can't continue to pretend that your friends are good men when they are not good men. And you must be very clear-minded and understand that your friends who are not good men are dangerous, violent men. And you have to keep them away from your daughters, your wives, and your girlfriends. Because this is the time when we can no longer look away when bad men are bad.
Bad men are bad, Sharon Stone says, and then the audience erupts in applause. You can't beat it. Armed with her 154 IQ, somehow Sharon Stone is only capable of speaking like a toddler, and the film circuit in Torino just eats it up, of course. Apparently, these people buy her claim that until this very point in history, men have not judged the character traits of other men, just not something that's ever happened. Women have been doing that, and that's how we have a functioning civilization, according to Sharon Stone. But men have never stopped and used their brains to decide who their friends should be. Men just move in packs, I guess. They go out at dusk and hunt animals and collect firewood without any regard for whether their pack mates are good men. And now, at last, Sharon Stone tells us that change is necessary. Men have to get real serious about disowning all of their friends who don't vote the way Sharon Stone wants because, they're dangerous and evil and so on. If your buddy voted for Trump, then you have no choice. You have to keep him away from your family as if he's a rabid raccoon. If you voted for Trump, then I guess you have to also stay away from other people. Let's talk about something that affects all of us, taxes. The October 15th deadline is passed, and if you're not prepared, you could be in for a world of hurt. Do you owe back taxes? Are your returns still unfiled? Did you miss the deadline to file for an extension? Now that we're past October 15th, the IRS is probably gearing up for some aggressive enforcement. And trust me, you don't want to be on their radar. We're talking wage garnishments, frozen bank accounts, or even property seizures. It's not pretty, folks. But before you start panicking, there's still hope. Tax Network USA has helped taxpayers save over $1 billion in tax debt and filed over 10,000 tax returns. These guys specialize in reducing tax burdens for hardworking Americans like you. Look, I get it. Dealing with the IRS is about as fun as a root canal, but ignoring the problem won't make it go away. So here's what you need to do. For a complimentary consultation, call today at 1-800-958-1000. Visit the website at tnusa.com/Walsh. Their experts will walk you through a few simple questions to see how much you can save. That's 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Walsh. Don't let the IRS take advantage of you. Get the help you need with Tax Network USA. It may sound a little harsh, but according to 154 IQ Sharon Stone, it's a necessary sacrifice that you'll just have to make. And to prove her point, 154 IQ Sharon Stone dropped the single most obviously fake statistic that's ever been dropped in the history of fake statistics. This is one you don't even need to Google to verify that it's completely and totally made up. Watch.
Watching a comedian the other night, and he said, I asked a woman to dinner, and she said yes. And it was such a brave thing for her to do. Because the only real thing, the number one killer of women in the world today is men. For men, the number one killer is heart disease. The number one killer for women is men. It is very important to remember that, men.
Hold up, did she just drop a stat straight out of Fantasyland claiming that men are the leading cause of death for women isn't just a stretch? It's factually absurd. Walsh obliterates this nonsense with hard data, proving her point to be nothing more than dramatic fear-mongering. But it's not just misleading, it's dangerously divisive rhetoric aimed at demonizing half the population.
Very important to remember that. Thank you.
Well, we're definitely going to remember that statistic. It's going to be hard to forget it because it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. She's saying that the leading cause of death among women isn't natural causes. It's not heart disease or cancer or anything. It's men who are killing women. Now, in order to believe that that's true, you'd have to be basically completely and totally innumerate. There's just no way around it. You need to have no common sense or capacity to form, to engage in like basic logic. You'd also have to have no understanding of crime statistics, which show that men overwhelmingly tend to kill other men, as you'd expect. But just in case you needed verification, here's the CDC, for example. Quote, heart disease is the leading cause of death for women in the United States, killing 310,661 women in 2021, or about 1 in every 5 female deaths. In other words, the top cause of death among women is the same as the top cause among men. And by the way, it's not like men are the number 2 cause of death among women. The number 2 cause of death is cancer. Then there's accidents, respiratory disease, Alzheimer's, diabetes, kidney disease, liver disease, and on and on. Murder by men doesn't even make the list. But I'm picking on poor Sharon Stone a bit too much here. Elsewhere at the same festival, Alec Baldwin spoke to reporters, and while he was there, just like Sharon Stone, he also called Americans stupid and ignorant. But then he went further. He explained that an information gap is the reason Kamala Harris lost the election, and then he announced a solution. This is somehow an even more incredible clip than the one we just played. Watch.
In my country, without going into significant detail, half the people in the country are happy and half the people in the country are very unhappy. It's a very difficult time in the United States, but there's a hole, there's a vacuum. There is a gap, if you will, in information for Americans. Americans are very uninformed about reality, what's really going on. With climate change, Ukraine, Israel, you name it, all the biggest topics in the world, Americans have an appetite for a little bit of information. That vacuum is filled by the film industry.
Oh, the irony. Baldwin suggests that the same industry churning out Marvel blockbusters and woke preachiness is going to educate Americans. If anything, Hollywood's track record proves it's more focused on indoctrination than information. Alec isn't offering a solution here. He's pushing an elitist narrative where his industry gets to play moral gatekeeper. Why would everyday Americans trust that?
Not just the independent film industry, not just the documentary film industry, which are very important around the world, but by narrative films as well, where the filmmakers and the buyers, the studios and the networks and the streamers are willing to go that way. They're willing to try to make films that are not only entertaining, but informative as well. So I think right now is probably one of the most significant times in our history, since film began, since the film experience began. It became an art form, it became a business, a huge business. Now is probably one of the most important times in our history for us to make films that will teach people about what reality is around the world.
You know, I'm normally a big advocate of the Second Amendment, but I do hope that there were metal detectors at this event to make sure, you know, Alec Baldwin wasn't armed, because we know how that can turn out. Yes, the film industry is going to educate all these dumb Americans who don't respect the political insights of Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin says people are going to flock to movie theaters and Netflix to figure out who they should vote for. They're going to watch Yellowstone, and then they're going to decide that actually it makes sense to castrate children and open the border and all the rest of it. That's the idea. Who needs social media platforms like X or any news sources whatsoever when you have the film industry? Now, all these celebrity tantrums remind me of that infamous quote from Michelle Obama from February of 2008. And we all probably remember this. She said she was finally proud of her country for the first time in her life when Barack Obama's presidential bid started to take off. Watch.
For the first time in my adult lifetime, I'm really proud of my country.
Michelle Obama's infamous quote is resurrected here to hammer home the theme: elitists only love America when it aligns with their worldview. Whether it's Michelle, Sharon, or Alec, the message is the same. Americans are great only if they vote blue and grovel at the feet of globalism. This type of conditional patriotism isn't inspiring, it's condescending.
And not just because Barack has done well, but because I think people are hungry for change.
This really sums up how these leftist elites see this country and our people. We are good when we do what they want and bad when we don't. I mean, it's really as simple as that. For all the moralizing and lecturing these people do, and for all their insistence that Americans are uneducated because they don't travel to Italy to collect useless awards, that's what it comes down to. They demand compliance. And when they don't get it, they feel compelled to complain, to the point that they make complete and utter fools of themselves. That's what just happened in Italy. And that is why Sharon Stone, Alec Baldwin, and all the other vapid celebrities who are going overseas to scold Americans for supporting Donald Trump are today canceled.
Matt Walsh hits hard here, exposing the disconnect between Hollywood's insulated echo chamber and the average American. While some points feel like low-hanging fruit, Stone's IQ flex, Baldwin's laughable movie education pitch, his critiques stick because the arrogance of these celebrities is on full display. Hollywood's attempt to vilify Trump supporters as ignorant and morally inferior is not only tired, but profoundly hypocritical. The bottom line, Walsh doesn't just eviscerate the Hollywood elites. He highlights how out of touch they truly are. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and be sure to subscribe to see more content similar to this one. Take care.